Enra, the finance minister, Ato Forson, at the announcement be about Betuja. Nasa announcement here what they are to it is going to have an effect on you, the Ghanaian, and then on government as a whole. I'm going to break it down because ayana nyama be say no ayana a complex kakra emma the ordinary person. And so I'm going to break it down so every single person will understand. Into no, they be asema make an say nipa kra waton in tools. Ewo dwom no. And also at the end of the day, adie we ebesi den na impact say nipa kra no na brabo. It may break the complex thing down. Na say nipa kra na tia say adie we ya Ato Forson akano. This is the effect it's going to have on my life. And then your first time waha make sure subscribe and click the notification bell on so. Oya nisa latest news bi aba onsa ebeka. Now quickly young concept nimo. I say expiration of DDEP induced restrictions on domestic bond issuance. In the title no, I say expiration of DDEP induced restrictions on domestic bond issuance. We this I know because say eh dey neighbor focus here. Mama Matias for people who have been listening to me. Mama Matias say ye wonyama bi efe na government securities. Okay. Baako et say adie bi efe na treasury bill. And then the second one adie bi efe na government bond. Na treasury bill no say na ye adwuma. Aban aye na adwen say ohia sika e de aye mpuntu nnwuma. Aban aye na adwen say ohia sika e de aye enyama bebre. Nti aban beba Ghana for na waba besre Ghana for say momma misika mommo mebosia. Now sa abosia na aban eba Ghana for ho a wo besre no or the two banks ninim. Nti Ghana ni sorry no ko bank so wo koto treasury bill. Basically no Ghana ni ne de ne sika aye den ebo aban bosia. Nti aban ji sika no de ye mpuntu nnwuma ni wi a na aban ababetua Ghana ni no at the end of the term maybe 91 day or 180 days or 365 days no depending on treasury bill na obekwa akoto no nti say ye man say wo nante ko bank na kokoka say wo to treasury bill 91 day treasury bill na say after 91 days no aban do sika de be ma obiom na wa ma eye interest e wo so nti e bia ne interest nti obviously the wo to treasury bill na ne de no eye 365 days no which is 1 year no ono ne de no ni interest number osro esen wa wo di usika na ma ban just within 3 months which is 91 days nti omo mo title treasury bill no unim so bia wo to treasury bill 1 year bia no eya na ni sika interest no osro sin the auto treasury bill 3 months nti ene ne efe no treasury bill nti treasury bill no sa nete ye wo bi nso wo hwa ye fe no bond ai no nso ye bosua na aban edge na from Ghana for or the koto banks enim na Ghana for na ko bank ho no wakwa koto bond no eno nso eye bosua aban eji free Ghana ni ho a wo di interest eto so na so bond no eya na eno no ewa sen treasury bill no eye 1 year at most, the biggest one here 1 year unless maybe you are rolling it over say after 1 year no mo sansun tobium but bond ne de eya na eno no you to meet turn for a longer period te eno no be a 5 years e be a 10 years enti eno ne friend bond enti bond ne treasury bill de nanka concept no me breaking it down no be atiasia e the same thing just that okoto bond a longer term and only into me to say treasury bill no better 3 months you to me nkoto bond 3 months that be and no better maybe 2 years 5 years or 10 years or even 15 years now under President Akufo-Addo esan say President Akufo-Addo ba ya wo be domestic debt exchange program wo ma wo mo a obo mo bosia omo Ghana for born ne bosia through bonds no omo ho kire wo mo pensioners a wo de omo sika kokoto bond a oma omo ho kire wo mo ni nti no Ghana ye ba be ye de restriction e ba be to bond so because it made no sense say President Akufo-Addo aban say wa ba beje busu free Ghana for na afei or the domestic debt exchange program aba Ghana for ni hi omo sika no onfa mo no it will make no sense say President Akufo-Addo be sanso aba say wo sanso e beje sika biom in a form of bond. Na bond na waje sika na waje fi Ghana for no mfa mo o sanso beje foforo. Until there was a restriction on bonds. Inti na Ghana ni bi antumi nkonkoto bond biom because of what President Akufo-Addo did. Inti Ato Forson any NDC by, and that's why I keep telling you say His Excellency John Dramani Mahama 2025. Ye kan papa ne djuma wa bo a menya sure say president bi abo say djuma no economic wise. Inti Ato Forson nsem a wo kan say due to sa restriction and that bonds eso no ye free ho say and then ama restrictions na ye free ho. The only reason why ye restrictions no and they are facilitating my ye restrictions na free ho, and they said the old bond na Ghana for ekoto ya wo mo de bosia ne ma Akufo-Addo a wo mo musika ho kire wo no tresa aban we ba ye no wa bomoden se we tietia Ghana for ni sika na ye den amomo nti ende we bie kwan se yebetumi asanso akwakoto bond mbiom na obi bebisa se bond na ye kwakoto no what will be the effect Ghana ni na otena kwan ho na oton intos no mfa so be no benya wo so metrɛtrɛ aseɛ eno nso beba but Mr. When that your first time or has subscribe and click the notification bell no as I said earlier on. Now we who say me explaining investment treasury bill ne enyama no we who say me explaining sa enyama no Mr. book na that screen so no your friend the Ghanaian investor opese wo te investment ase e wo krom ha na wo hu say me obe invest wo sika e wo Ghana ha pe book we bi na to me ana me throw book no omo ato book no e be di adanse and say maka no say wo ba wo faase bi na owo SHS. This is the time I was able to book no mano. Yesterday I was looking at Mami Fan Fame because we are talking about investment no Mami Fan Fame. Enra book we me bo investment ba ko bi wom. Me bo investment ba ko bi e wom. Enra I was reading the financial statements of sa investment no. And I mean who say 30 years ago say all the 100 cedis pe share sa investment ni mu na wan fa sika bia anka ho a ende sa 100 cedis no eba beda na 100,000 Ghana cedis. So imagine say ende wo ba fresh na we bie sa investment na mano na wo de why wadwen say wo 1,000 cedis so de betu mu amano. Imagine in the next 30 years how you be able to set Saobano up. And I say, oh, the obe say, oh, the ABLC council, the obe to me afford, and say every month be out the 500 cedis nebetum. Imagine say, wow, about fresh and there. No, what set sa investment na mano. Now every month be out the 500 cedis tum. By the next 30 years, no, obani be di 30 no, no yisiki ni bele. Because 30 years ago, we be out the 100 cedis pe, share sa investment ni mono, and there. Sa investment no ama ne bakone nya 100,000 Ghana cedis. It is in the book if you want to know all those investments and how to make them. Nini na wo book nim. Ghana ni bia wo abrochi a wo pe book no. Just go on Amazon and search for the book The Ghanaian Investor. Yebe shepe di aba bibia wo bia. O Ghana ha fre 055-807-4986. Hard copy ne de no kwari ni. Hard copy no yenya print ya na asa nti ho odin ene de mo fa ncheme, but there are other formats of the book. Ghana form wa brochi ni de hard copy no mu benya because ya print wa brochi ho ne ya shepe de abrem, but mo amwo Ghana ha say no ya na hard copy no ho odin e buy ya na asa. But there are other formats like the PDF, the tree video, and other formats. If you still want them, you can get them. There's also a link in the comment box. I will click here on Sa Ebeka book. Now quickly, Yembran sem no so Ato Forson. I hope say matrichin sem no eni so amawati asye. Now Yembra Ato Forson himself. So the Ministry of Finance announces the expiration of the restrictions of new domestic bond issuance. The 3-year restriction measure was imposed in 2023 to prevent government from issuing new bonds following the debt default that preceded the domestic debt exchange program. This comes at a time when inflation is low, investor confidence has improved, and the macroeconomic environment is strong, supported by a robust medium-term debt management strategy and significant buffers. Since 2025, the government has honored every coupon payment and obligation under the restricted bonds, demonstrating its credibility, fiscal discipline, and commitment to responsible debt management. The expiration of the restriction paves way for government to drastically reduce its dependence on treasury bills to finance its budget and allows for the issuance of new, longer-dated domestic bonds. President John Dramani Mahama's administration is once again deeply grateful to the Ghanaian people for their forbearance and cooperation during the difficult period. And into Bibeka say, now what does this mean? Into Sisiano, Ghana or the government, into first no because bond into send your treasury bill and a bond as ya no when who say treasury bill no say aban bobo sun free Ghana for her but a short term bond and they say aban bobo sun free Ghana for her but a longer term. It is say na bond no restriction that's on into no so aban person bobo sun free Ghana for her a treasury bill pen no to minya. It is ikana na aban or person wonya kra no to minya ni na sa basically and I say aban menya sikane de nanso embra e was a wodi tua sikane ka no e short die ntia because treasury bill no e short period. It is a bond that sanso abadia. It means that aban ebetumi asanso abagana for ho na wasanso ababe bobosia na bosia no obebo no embre ebebem na ma aban chance na wetumi tua ka yi enti for aban na nkasa no eye nigesem now for wo Ghana ni no nso no unso wo de enesen enigesem ewo mu enesen. Into wo Ghana ni no, what this means is that you now have investment options. And now me can say treasury bill rate, the 91-day treasury bill has fallen as low as 4%. Yes. The 91-day treasury bill, it has fallen as low as 4%. Under President Akufo-Addo, now treasury bill rate no was as high as 20%. Until now obi Ede 100,000 Ghana cedis. Ekokoto treasury bill for 1 year. At the end of the year, no, under President Akufo-Addo, na nipa kuni benya so 20,000 Ghana cedis. But on my be a treasury bill rate, was no. What it simply means is that our economy no engineer ye. But on my be a treasury bill rate, was form no. Not just our economy no, solid. Why? Because I don't know you can't default because the rate is low. But and the treasury bill rate no above to 4%. Even though a treasury economy is strong no, Ghana ni a or person investing in sika no, and the interest akofom. Interest also wunya wo sika ne so akofom. Ghana ni na first under President Akufo-Addo 100,000 kokoto treasury bill. Wo babenya 20,000 Ghana cedis at the end no. And the Ghana Nina use 200,000 no koto treasury bill na at the end of the year. The Obenya 4,000 Ghana cedis. It's from 20,000 to 4,000. But it still means that the NDC has managed the economy well. Because Mama Wati has here. Interest rates above form. Inflation above form. But for a Ghanaian who wants to make money, the treasury bill does not look attractive. Because 100,000, the koto treasury bill now at the end of 1 year, in Faso Benya was so 4%. But a buying able to me issue bonds this year, and the rates on bond, the coupon rates on bonds no higher. Normally they are higher than treasury bill. So what it simply means is that the Ghanaian who now does not want to invest in treasury bill will have the opportunity to invest in bonds because bonds interest rates no ebe was through as in treasury bill. So it is an opportunity for the Ghanaian our person invest here and the treasury bill rate no e what form man no dodo. One person didn't see kabeshe treasury bill muno. It's an opportunity for that person to now look into investing in bond. Now, at the end of the day, to aban and to nipa kra or jina kwan ho awoton in tools no. What will be the effect? The effect will be that aban, and I've told you say aban might float bonds, right? Is float the right word? Forgive me, but aban might issue aban might issue bonds on a year infrastructure bonds. Mama what I say, I buy air plan say obey issue infrastructure bonds this year. Now, what the infrastructure bonds will do is that I buy beba bosian in the form of bonds for Ghana for so will the koye akwan. It is Excellency John Dramani Mahama. A kwanya wo yi wo Ghana ni na no. Wo beje sika bosian no every Ghana for no de akwa koyi kwan. So the good news will be that now the bonds will serve as a way to finance our roads. Once there is money to finance our roads, no, then it tells me that we are going to have a good road network because infrastructure bonds will be issued. And then you to me issue bonds ne there, not just infrastructure bonds will be issued. You fix it kwan ni we are. Nipa kra waton in toes e wo kwan. What is the effect on you? And then the reason why ye increase fuel okwa kan wo se ye kwan nye ene ye we nye ene in toes ne kra ne ye ko twen fie kra se ye ba ne car naka nti ama in toes na short. And then ye be ye kwan because ye be issue infrastructure bonds. Ni to me the ye kwan ni ye na Ghana be kra be hwe. Nti krase na ye koyi ntus na bana wo mo complain a wo mo jiu sika kese no. All things being equal, Ghana for young growth be ya na empese beti sika so. But all things being equal, and the a kwan ne be better. Sika na nke wo so wo mo jiu no. E wo se ba form. Nti sika obetua for e bia fair for ntus na ye de bre wa ba beton no sika ne be wo form kakra. All things being equal. I'm saying all things being equal because ye nim young growth for no. Adia no wutia sika we gran on person pete so am. But basically, I just want you to understand. Say on both ends, the Ghanaian and then the government. Some news here Ato Forson ababe announce positive effects by enebe have it also. I hope you get me. No. It was your information. Your comment box in the moment.